Cancer. There are conversations happening about you that you have not been part of. I want you to sit with that sentence for a moment because most of the time when people hear it, they immediately assume it refers to something negative. The cultural reflex is to associate being talked about with being criticized, but the cultural reflex is incomplete. People talk about each other for many reasons, and a significant portion of that talking is appreciative, admiring, or even quietly affectionate. The conversations happening about you are predominantly of this second kind. You have been talked about in rooms you were not in ways that would surprise you. The surprise is not because the conversations are extreme. The surprise is because you have not been giving yourself credit for the impression you have been making, and the conversations reflect an impression that is more substantial than the one you carry of yourself. I want to walk you through what is being said, and I want to do it slowly because the cumulative effect of these various comments is more interesting than any single one of them. The picture that emerges from putting them together is not a picture you have been carrying. The picture has been forming in the minds of people who have observed you, often without your full awareness that they were observing. Their picture is more accurate in some ways than your own self-image because they have been watching you from the outside, where certain qualities are visible that are difficult to see from the inside. The first thing being said about you is something about the consistency of your character. People who know you have noticed that you do not change much across contexts. You are recognizably yourself in different settings with different audiences and different moods. This consistency is not universal. Many people present significantly different versions of themselves depending on who they are with, and the inconsistency is often noticed by observers who happen to see them in multiple contexts. Your consistency stands out. People have remarked on it in various ways in conversations where they have been comparing notes about people they know in common. The remarks have been positive. Consistency is read as integrity, and integrity is one of the qualities people most respect, even when they do not always know how to articulate why. The second thing being said about you is something about how you handle situations that go wrong. People have noticed that you do not become destabilized by setbacks in the way many people do. You have you have your reactions, certainly. You experience disappointment, frustration, sadness, but you continue to function. You continue to engage. You do not collapse, and you do not lash out at others when things become difficult. This capacity to remain functional under stress has been observed and remarked upon. People have used various phrases to describe it. Some have called it strength. Some have called it grace under pressure. Some have used less elegant language but pointed at the same quality. Whatever the language, the recognition has been consistent. You handle difficulty in a way that earns respect, even when you may not feel that you are handling it well. The third thing being said about you is something about the quality of your attention. People have noticed that when you are engaged with them, you are actually engaged. You listen. You remember what was said. You ask follow-up questions that demonstrate you have been paying attention. This sounds like a simple quality, but it is genuinely rare. Most people in conversation are partially attending while planning what they will say next, or while distracted by other concerns. You attend more fully than the average. The people who have been on the receiving end of your attention have noticed the difference. Some of them have specifically said in conversations with others that talking to you feels different from talking to most people. They have said this with appreciation. They have said it as a way of indicating why they value the connection with you. The valuing is real. The fourth thing being said about you is something about your kindness, not the performed kindness that some people deploy strategically. The structural kindness that operates beneath your surface, in how you treat people who cannot do anything for you, in how you respond to small situations that do not require any particular response, in the small accommodations you make for others without making a show of them. This kindness has been observed by people who pay attention to such things. People have, in various conversations, mentioned specific instances when you were kind in ways that mattered to them. Some of these instances are things you do not even remember doing because they were small for you, but they were significant for the recipient, and the recipient has carried the memory and shared it. The fifth thing being said about you is something about your particular intelligence. Not just the standard kind, although you have plenty of that. The more interesting intelligence is the one that operates at the intersection of perception and intuition, where you read situations, people, and dynamics with unusual accuracy. People who have benefited from your reading of various situations have noticed how often your read turned out to be correct, even when their initial response was to dismiss it. They have, in subsequent conversations, acknowledged that you saw things they did not see, and that the seeing was useful. The seeing is being talked about. People are telling each other to listen to you when you read a situation because your reads tend to be reliable. This kind of reputation is one of the most valuable kinds. It builds slowly. It does not announce itself, but it accumulates and it produces the kind of trust that opens doors. I want to take a moment to address you because I sense this kind of feedback can be difficult to receive. There's a part of many people that, when told good things about themselves, immediately produces internal counter arguments. The counter arguments name the times you have not been consistent, not handled difficulty well, not paid attention, not been kind, not seen things accurately. The counter arguments are not entirely wrong. You are human. You have had moments that did not represent your best. But the counter arguments overweight those moments and underweight the broader pattern. The broader pattern is what people are seeing. They are not unaware of your imperfections. They have observed those too. They are simply, on balance, registering more of the consistent positive than the occasional negative. And the registration is producing the conversations I am describing. I want to share something specific about a particular conversation that has occurred about you. A person who knows you well has spoken about you to someone else recently in a way that was more substantive than usual social commentary. The conversation was not a passing remark. It was a deliberate sharing by this person of who you are to them. The sharing included details. It included specific moments. It included an articulation of what you have meant to this person's life. The receiving party of this conversation was struck by what was said. They came away with a sense of you that was more complete than what they had previously had, and the sense was favorable. This kind of conversation matters. It shapes how people who do not yet know you well will receive you when you encounter them. The favorable foundation has been laid in conversations you do not even know occurred. You will benefit from the foundation in ways that will become visible over time. This is Cancer Tarot, and I want to mention something specific about how reputations develop, because the pattern is worth understanding. Reputations are not built by direct self-promotion. They are built by what others say about you in your absence. The cumulative effect of those conversations over time produces a kind of reputational substance that travels with you, even into rooms you have not yet entered. People form impressions of you before they meet you, based on what they have heard. The impressions can be accurate or inaccurate, depending on the quality of the sources. In your case, the impressions being formed are accurate. because the people speaking about you are people who actually know you and who are speaking from genuine observation rather than from secondhand assumption. This is one of the gifts of having earned the regard you have earned. The accuracy of the reputation that precedes you is an asset. It opens doors that you do not have to push open yourself. I want to address something about the timing of when you may begin to encounter the effects of these conversations. Some of the effects have already been operating in subtle ways. People have been treating you slightly better than you might have expected in various contexts, partly because of what they have heard from others. You may not have always noticed this because you have been calibrated to expect a different level of treatment. The slightly better treatment has been registering at the periphery of your awareness without becoming explicit. As the conversations continue and accumulate, the effects will become more visible. People you do not yet know will approach you with a level of openness that surprises you. Opportunities will arrive that have, at their root, recommendations from people who know you. Connections will form more easily than they have formed in the past. All of this is downstream of the conversations. I want to mention something specific about what you are not being credited with, because this is an interesting feature of how reputations develop. There are qualities of yours that people do not yet know about because they have not had occasion to observe them. These qualities will be discovered over time. The discovery will produce additional layers of regard. People who currently know you for one set of qualities will come to know you for additional ones, and their regard will deepen accordingly. You are still being underestimated in some respects, even within your existing reputation. The underestimation is not negative. It just means there is more of you to be discovered. And the discovery is going to be a continuing source of pleasure for the people who get to know you more fully. I want to take a moment to talk about a particular dynamic that I sense is operating. There are people who, having heard good things about you, are interested in meeting you or in spending more time with you. This interest has not always reached you in explicit form. It has expressed itself in subtle ways. Slight extra attention when you are in shared spaces. Inclusion in conversations or events that you might have expected to be excluded from. Casual mentions of you by mutual contacts that suggest those contacts have been talking up your presence. These are signs that the interest is operating. You can take them as evidence that the conversations about you have been having effects. People want to know you. The wanting is real. Whether you choose to engage with the people who want to know you is your decision, but the wanting itself is information about how you are being perceived. I want to share something about how to receive this kind of information without becoming distorted by it. Some people, on hearing that they have been spoken well of, become slightly more performative in subsequent interactions, trying to live up to what has been said about them. This performativeness, while understandable, tends to undermine the qualities that produce the favorable reputation in the first place. The qualities people have been admiring are qualities that you exhibit naturally. They are not qualities you have been performing. If you start performing them, the performance will be detectable, and the performance will not match the natural expression. The result will be a slight degradation of what people have been responding to. So I want to suggest that you not change anything in response to learning what is being said. Continue to be exactly the way you have been. The exactness is what produced the response. Maintaining the exactness will continue to produce the response. I want to address something about how to think about the people who are saying these things, because they are not abstract. They are specific people in your life with their own perspectives and their own reasons for noticing what they notice. Their perspectives are valuable because they have been paying attention to you in ways you have not been paying attention to yourself. They see things about you that you do not see. The seeing is a gift. You can, in certain moments, allow yourself to consider their perspective on you as additional data about who you are. The data may be different from your own self-perception. The difference is worth examining. You may find that the people around you have a more accurate picture of certain aspects of yourself than you have. Updating your self-perception with their perspective, where their perspective is more accurate, is a way of bringing your sense of yourself into closer alignment with reality. I want to mention something about the people in your life who have been speaking favorably of you. Take a moment to consider who they are. Some of them are obvious: close friends, family members, long-standing allies. Others may be less obvious. Coworkers who do not seem particularly close to you, but who have noticed your work and have spoken about it in their own circles. Acquaintances who have observed you in particular settings and have formed favorable impressions. People who have benefited from something you did and have remembered the benefit. The network of people speaking favorably is wider than you may currently realize. The width of the network is one of the more valuable assets you have, even if you have not been treating it as an asset. It produces effects in your life that operate without your having to do anything specific to generate them. This is Cancer Tarot, and I want to emphasize something I think is the most important takeaway from this reading. The favorable reputation you have earned is real, and it is doing work for you in places you cannot see. You do not have to manage it. You do not have to maintain it through conscious effort. It is the natural result of who you are, expressed consistently over time, observed by people who pay attention, and shared by them in conversations that build on each other. The reputation is self-sustaining at this point. It does not require your active participation. Your participation is simply continuing to be who you are. The continuing being is the entire practice. I want to address something about a specific kind of response you may be having to this information. There may be a part of you that is moved, perhaps unexpectedly so. The moving is appropriate. It is the response of someone who has been less seen than they realized, suddenly being told that they have in fact been seen all along. The being seen is one of the deepest things a person can encounter. It addresses a need that runs underneath much of human life, the need to be witnessed accurately by others. The need has been quietly active in you. The information that you have been witnessed accurately and favorably will register at the level of that need. Allow it to register. The registration is a form of receiving. The receiving will produce, over time, a slight settling in your nervous system that has not been available before. The settling is one of the gifts of this period. I want to share an orientation for how to live in light of what I have shared. Continue your life as you have been living it. Do not change anything in response to learning what is being said. Keep showing up the way you have been showing up. The showing up is what produces what is being said. Trust that the conversations will continue to occur in the natural course of how people speak about people they know. Trust that the effects will continue to operate in your favor in ways that you will sometimes be able to trace and sometimes not. Trust that the reputation having been built honestly will continue to support you over time. There is nothing you need to do differently. The work that produced the reputation is the work that will continue to produce the effects. I want to mention something about the connection between this reputation and what is approaching in your life more broadly. The favorable reputation creates conditions for opportunities to find you. Some of the opportunities approaching are arriving at least partly because someone who has heard good things about you is making arrangements that include you, even though you are not yet aware of those arrangements. These behind the scenes movements are part of how good fortune actually operates in human life. It is rarely random. It is usually the result of someone, somewhere, having heard something about a person and deciding to act on what they heard. The acting can produce introductions, recommendations, invitations, openings of various kinds. The acting is happening on your behalf in places you cannot see. You will encounter the results in due course. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the work you have done to earn what is being said. The work has not always felt like work. Much of it has been simply the daily practice of being a particular kind of person. But the daily practice has accumulated. Over years, you have built a track record. The track record is what people are referencing in various ways when they speak about you. The track record exists because of small, consistent choices you have made, often without recognition. The recognition is now coming. Some of it will be direct when people say things to you that you can hear. Most of it will continue to be indirect when people say things about you in conversations you are not part of. Both forms are valid. Both forms are doing work in your life. Receive both gratefully. I want to share something about a particular comment that has been made about you recently. Someone in the recent past said something about you to another person that, if you knew what was said, would mean a great deal to you. The comment was not effusive. It was specific and accurate. The specificity is part of what made it meaningful. Generic praise is easy to dismiss. Specific praise that names actual qualities and references actual moments lands differently. The comment was of this latter kind. The person who made it was articulating something they have felt about you for a while in a context where the articulation could be heard by someone who would benefit from hearing it. The articulation has had ripple effects. The ripples are still moving. You may eventually learn in some indirect way what was said, or you may not. Either way, the effects continue. I want to mention something about how reputational momentum works once it has reached a certain threshold. Below the threshold, reputations require active reinforcement. Each new person who hears about you forms an impression based on a small amount of information, and the impression can go in various directions. Above the threshold, reputations have their own momentum. New people who hear about you encounter a sufficient body of consistent positive information that the impression formed is more reliable. The threshold has been crossed in your case in your particular circles. The crossing is significant. It means that the work of building reputation no longer requires your conscious effort in the way it may have required earlier. The reputation is now operating on its own, and it will continue to support you with less and less effort required from you to maintain it. Here on Cancer Tarot, I want to leave you with a particular emphasis. The shock the title promised is not the shock of bad news. It is the shock of discovering that you have been more loved, more respected, more appreciated than you realized. The discovery can be jarring in its own way because it requires you to update a self-image that has been calibrated to less. The updating may take some time. Allow it to take the time it needs. There is no rush. The reality of how you are perceived will become increasingly visible as you continue your life. Each new encounter, each new opportunity, each new relationship will bring you data that confirms the favorable picture that has been forming. The data will accumulate. The accumulation will eventually settle into a stable sense of yourself that is more aligned with how you are actually seen. You will live increasingly in a world that reflects who you are back to you accurately. The reflection is the reward. I want to mention something about the relationship between this reputation and your own sense of self-worth. The reputation is not the source of your worth. Your worth is structural to who you are. It exists whether or not anyone recognizes it. But the reputation, when it accurately reflects what you are, can serve as a useful confirmation. When you are uncertain about yourself, you can remember that you have been observed by various people in various contexts, and the observations have produced a favorable consensus. The consensus is information. It can quiet the doubts that occasionally arise. The quieting does not require you to depend on the reputation. It just allows you to receive it as one source of information among many that point in the same direction. The pointing is consistent. Multiple sources, including your own self-knowledge, when you allow yourself to access it accurately, all suggest that you are who the reputation says you are. You can rest in that. I want to mention one more thing about the people around you. There are individuals in your life who have been quietly carrying you in their thoughts more than you may realize. They have been thinking of you when you have not been thinking of them. They have been hoping for your well-being. They have been mentioning your name in private prayers or in private moments of reflection. This kind of energetic support is real, even when it is not visible. It contributes to the overall texture of how your life unfolds. You are being held in invisible ways by people who care about you. The holding is part of why things in your life are working out the way they are. It is not just your own efforts producing your outcomes. It is also the cumulative goodwill of the people who think of you with affection. You can take a moment to acknowledge their support, even silently, and the acknowledgement will deepen the connection across the invisible space between you and them. I want to leave you with a closing image. There is a circle of people who care about you, who have spoken well of you, who have hoped for your good outcomes, who have remembered your kindnesses, who have benefited from your presence. The circle is wider than you may realize. Some of the people in the circle you know about. Many of them you do not. They have been operating in the background of your life, generating goodwill that has been accumulating. The accumulation is what is now beginning to produce visible effects. The effects are downstream of the goodwill. The goodwill is real. You have earned it through the consistent practice of being who you are. The practice continues to pay. The paying continues to expand. You are exactly as loved, respected, and appreciated as the conversations are saying you are. Receive that. It is true. It has been true for a while. The truth is now becoming more visible to you, and the visibility is the gift of this period. Live in the gift. Walk forward with the awareness that you are being held by many, in many places. The holding is sustaining. The holding is real. The holding is yours. You are loved, you are known, you are appreciated, you are spoken of in your absence in ways that would warm you if you could hear them. You may in time hear some of them. You may not. Either way, they are happening. The conversations are real. The favorable picture they are forming is accurate. The picture will continue to inform how the world meets you in ways that will benefit you in the coming period. Trust this. Receive this. Continue to be who you are. The being is the entire practice. The practice is enough. Walk forward with the quiet confidence of someone who has earned, through long and consistent effort, the regard they are now receiving. The earning is complete. The receiving is beginning. Let it begin. Let it continue. Let it be. You are exactly where you need to be. You are exactly who you need to be. The conversations confirm it. The future will continue to confirm it. Trust the confirmation. Trust yourself. Trust the picture that has been forming. The picture is good. The picture is yours.